Folks, I'm Rhino7. I am currently in the midst of an 18-year journey to read every single DC comic ever released. Generally, I read 10 comics a day and post a video a day, but occasionally, once a week, I'll upload a bigger video like this that will be 7 videos put together, 7 of the daily videos, and I'll post this to give you an easier way to digest my content. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. Master Comics number 10, we have Bullet Man. Bullet Man stops like a secret gang. There's a secret gang led by a guy. He stops the guy. He stops the secret gang. Moving on to More Fun Comics 63. We have the Spectre. There is this killer. This guy, he kills someone. Right. He kills a guy. Okay, he kills a guy. He's given the death penalty. Okay. And he dies. He gets electric shocked. But then he comes back as a spirit, like a ghost, and starts attacking and hurting and torturing the people who caused him to get the death penalty. Jim Corrigan obviously becomes the Spectre and stops him. We also have Dr. Fate this issue. Dr. Fate like it mentions More Fun Comics by name. Like it's like a little meta joke maybe. They directly mention More Fun Comics. One guy is in the background and he's read More Fun Comics apparently. He says, "Hey, I've seen you in More Fun Comics." So apparently, canonically, More Fun Comics exists and there is a Dr. Fate depiction in it. In this world. Also, Dr. Fate is confirmed old as shit. He's been around since at least the 1600s, confirmed this issue. Basically, there's a big party going on at this mansion. There's buried treasure somewhere in the party. There's this magic guy who wants the treasure. Dr. Fate stops the magic guy and protects the treasure. Mystery Men Comics number 18, not much going on here. National Comics number 7, Uncle Sam discovers a sub-tank, which is like a big tank at the bottom of the ocean that moves along the ocean floor. Smash Comics number 18, there's a new hero introduced called Midnight. I don't really have anything to say about them, but, you know, there's that. Wiz Comics number 12. This is what we really need to talk about. World War II, officially mentioned. I think this is the first time I've talked about a World War II comic on here. Actually, no, I did mention there's a one with, like, Nazis earlier. But, okay, basically, so the Nazis are attacking this ship of refugees. Billy saves them. He saves the ship. He stops these bombers, these Nazi bombers, whatever, using his Shazam powers. Then he arrives at this refugee town, and he meets the guy who's head of the refugees, and he says, "Okay, there's Nazi bombers coming this way, and they're gonna bomb this shelter. Why aren't these guys in the bunkers? Why aren't the refugees in the bunkers?" The head guy is like, "Ooh, they don't need the bunkers because this building is actually bomb-proof. It's actually a bomb-proof building. Also, I have to go now." For some reason. I have to go, like, right now. And then he runs off, which is suspicious for a good reason. Then the Nazis arrive, they drop the bombs, the shelter almost gets exploded. Billy does stop the bomb from hitting the shelter, but it still explodes midair, close enough to set the building on fire. Billy wakes up as Shazam, as Captain Marvel, quick enough to put out the fire and save everyone. Turns out Billy tracks down the head of the refugees. Turns out he's a secret Nazi spy who is having the Nazis do all this. Also, there's one point where Billy does blackface to, like, sneak onto a Nazi ship and follow the Nazi spy. Now, you may notice throughout that whole thing, I was calling them Nazis, but why not? They're called Nazis. Why are you pronouncing like that? Because in this comic, they're called Nazis, as in Nat the Bug, GNATZIS. Why are they called that? I'm not sure. I don't know, like, the full historical context. I don't know if they were originally called that for somebody. I don't know if that was like a bad word to use towards them, like a derogatory word. Obviously, like, being derogatory to Nazis and something, but you know what I mean. I don't know if it was like they weren't allowed to say Nazi in comics for some reason, so they said Nazi. I'm not entirely sure of the, like, historical context. I think they're allowed to say Nazi in comics. I'm pretty sure they said it before. But I'm not sure if there was that was like another name for Nazis at the time. I don't know, but they do call them Nazis. The word Nazi is not said once in this comic. They're called Nazis throughout. Nazi. So, moving on, Action Comics 33. There's this guy who dies, and he leaves behind this big fortune, and in his will, he says he wants all the money to go towards these unfortunate kids, and he wants the money to be used to build a summer camp for them. The summer camp is not built after a couple months, so Clark and Lois are sent to investigate. They get, the guy running the camp, tries to kill them. Whatever. There's no one at the summer camp because it's not summer camp yet. Turns out, big guy behind everything is the guy who's like in charge of the will, and he doesn't want it to be spent on the summer camp. Superman defeats him, saves Lois, whatever. The will gets reenacted, and everything works out. Adventure Comics 59, not much to talk about here. All American Comics number 23, Green Lantern deals with another racketeering scheme, as always. Crack Comics number 10, not much happening here. So that's all I had to talk about today. Folks, I'm Rhino-Horn7. Today is day 42 of reading 10 comics a day until I've read every single DC comic. As you can hear, I have a bit of a throat thing today. So, it's going to be a bit of a quicker video, but I'm going to try to get through my 10 comics. We start with Detective Comics number 48. Now, basically, Batman and Robin, there's a guy who discovers a cave. The cave runs under, like, a bank vault full of gold. Batman and Robin, so this guy goes to a bar and he starts telling people about it. These people are like thieves and they're like, we want that gold. So they come up with a scheme to take the gold and, kidnap the guy and kidnap his daughter. So he tells them where the gold is. And then Batman and Robin save the day, basically. Also, this is the first time the Batmobile is mentioned by name specifically, I believe. Also, Batman has a bit of a patriot moment at the end here where he says, instead of accepting an award for saving the mine, he goes, being American is enough reward. And I thought that was pretty funny. Feature Comics 41, not much happening here. Don't like Feature Comics, never have, never will. Flash Comics 14 is the return of Joan Williams, the Flash's girlfriend.
I almost forgot to take the flare, but I got it.
Basically, this story, not like the return, she wasn't like gone for a while. She was gone for a little bit, though. She's been missing from some more recent issues, I feel like. But she appears here. Flash stops a corrupt politician trying to sabotage his competitors. So the politician,
Oh yeah, Ronald died, by the way.
there's this one guy, I don't remember fully, but there's a corrupt politician. He's trying to kill his competitor and sabotage him and make him look bad. Hit Comics number 8, not much happening there. Master Comics number 11, Bullet Man saves the mayor's daughter. More Fun Comics 64, Spectre stops a vengeful shadow, which is, so there's this guy, he tattles on his boss, who's like a bad guy, who's like a mob boss, and then he gets killed by one of the mob boss's people. So then, obviously, I just realized I have had desktop audio this whole time. I'm gonna leave it on. But I'm gonna turn it down. I just realized that this video is gonna be. Ooh. I am in a video game with my friends right now while I'm doing this. So desktop audio is on, and I'm just gonna turn it down. I'm gonna leave it on, but I'm gonna turn it down. As I was saying, the guy who tattles gets killed by one of the mob boss's people. He turns into a vengeful shadow. He starts taking revenge on the people who caused his death, including the mob boss. Spectre steps in and stops him and is like, hey, you can't do that, even if you do hate them. Dr. Fate, confirmed, he's old. Apparently almost as old as the world. Dr. Fate, he stops an evil spirit from taking over the world, basically. Mystery Man Comics number 19, National Comics number 8, and Smash Comics number 19. Don't have much to say about those. Superman number 8. This is the first time the Superman is called the Man of Tomorrow, I believe. Basically, there's this big group of giants who are just smashing shit, and Superman's like, hey, you can't do that, and stops the giants. The giants are created by a bunch of scientists in a lab. They're like, hey, we figured out how to make giants, and they want to do a scheme with it. I'm not sure. I'm not really. The scientist part is confusing. I don't know if the scientists. Yeah, no, the scientists were getting the giants to do it. They were getting the giants to do it. The second story, he just investigates a fifth columnist organization, but there is a cool moment where he catches a bullet, where he fires a bullet and then catches it before it hits the guy. So, interrogate him. The third story, Clark gets scammed, and the fourth story, he fights a bunch of thieves. That's my 10 comics for today. Sorry about the messy audio at the beginning, but thank you all for watching. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace! Wiz Comics number 13. In this one, Dr. Sivana returns, right? He's been a villain in a lot of Shazam, Captain Marvel comics. Basically, he creates a chemical that when he uses it on a person, they turn into a baby. And it works. It works on adults. He uses it on an adult, and they turn into a baby. He uses it to steal money from banks, and he plans to use it to take over the country. He uses it on Billy, who is he's a child. Does he use it on Child Billy? I can't remember. I feel like he doesn't use it on Child Billy because I feel like Child Billy would disappear. No, he does use it on Child Billy, and Child Billy is stuck as a baby, but then finds a cure while Butia is, supposed to be guarding him. Gets the cure somehow. Shazams, right? He becomes Shazam. Or he says Shazam and he becomes Captain Marvel. And while Dr. Sivana has turned like the entire army into babies. Dr. Sivana has turned the entire army into babies. Captain Marvel swoops in, calls the really old members of the army, like the old guard or something, uses the chemical on them so they become young men, because the chemical doesn't actually turn you into babies, it like reverses the clock a certain amount, so using it on old people makes them like young men. So now, there's a bunch of, spry, young army men, and they fight off the Sivana army, and everything works out, and Captain Marvel, I think Sivana is finally arrested and taken to prison. I think this is the first time that's happened, which is awesome. We're finally dealing with him, and Captain Marvel saves the day and gives everyone the cure. Moving on, should I talk about it? I enjoyed it. I really like this one. I really like a lot of comics today, or that from this day. I really like all of them. A lot of them are fun. That's probably my favorite from the day. I think that's my favorite from the day. There's a lot of good ones. Moving on, we have Action Comics 34. Clark and Lois are sent to report on a mine. This girl, her father died, and she inherited the mine, and she's decided that she will not be selling and will instead be running it by herself. So Clark and Lois are sent to investigate and figure out, what's going on. Why isn't she selling? Like, how could she run this mine? Because she's a stupid little girl. She's not a stupid little girl. She's like a pretty smart, normal age woman. I don't know what normal age is, but she's like Lois's age, I'd say. So they investigate. Superman has to do some stuff, right? Clark has to turn to Superman to get on the premises. Lois kind of just isn't in most of the story. She gets there with Clark. Clark kind of goes off to do his, Superman stuff, and Lois just kind of stands there most of the time, and then we see her at the end of the comic where she's leaving. And we just kind of don't know what she's doing between those two events. So Superman does his stuff, right? He finds out that that the woman's uncle has a plot to kill her and take the mine for himself. Obviously, the uncle is stopped by Superman. The uncle tries to trap Superman and the girl in like a container, like a big steel door shuts and whatever. He tries to trap them in like an elevator, I think. But obviously, Superman breaks through the big steel door because he's Superman. Okay. This is I enjoyed this one a lot, actually, because there's some fun Superman stuff. He stops a minecart at one point. It's fun. It's a fun comic. This is the one thing I have. This is the one problem I have with 1940 Superman. It doesn't make sense. Why does everyone keep underestimating him? They know. The Daily Planet has made so many stories about him this time. They know, and there's proof that they know. We've seen people recognize him before in previous issues. Why do people keep thinking, oh yeah, Superman can't break through steel. Oh yeah, Superman can't survive bullets. Why do you keep thinking that? You know he can do that. You know he's done it before. You know that. You should know that. You should know that. But no, they keep thinking steel is gonna stop Superman. They keep thinking that. They keep thinking they can shoot him and it's gonna do anything. Why? Why are they all so stupid? Why are they all so dumb? It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, moving on, I did really enjoy that one, despite my qualms. There are more qualms with Superman 1940s than the story itself. Moving on to Adventure Comics 60, not much interesting, not much to talk about. All American... I got a little, lightheaded there. I think it's from yelling while sick. All-American Comics 24, Green Lantern. There's a guy. He needs a job. He needs a job real bad. He gets a job. He's told to sign a piece of paper. Don't read it. Don't bother reading it. So he doesn't read it. He just signs the piece of paper. He gets a job now. He gets sent to this island. Turns out, not a job. He's going to be a slave. And the paper he signed says, oh, you have to be a slave for 2 months. Which doesn't... Well, you have... Whatever. And they're like, if you try to leave, we'll kill you. So... this guy manages to escape and goes around trying to convince people of his story, but nobody believes him because the guy in charge, the guy he's accusing of doing this, is like a famous rich guy. Because we should always trust rich people, of course. We should always believe rich people would never do anything evil. Anyways, Alan Scott catches wind of this and obviously believes the guy, so he gets himself signed up for this island, this slave island. Becomes a slave for a bit, does some Green Lantern stuff, kills a couple guards, forces the sort of big kahuna boss guy to tattletale on the rich guy who's sort of setting all this up. So, not tattletale, testify in court. And then the big rich guy gets arrested. Oh yeah, Green Lantern should have gotten the whole case thrown out. Because when the Big Kahuna, that's what I'm calling him the Big Kahuna, when he's testifying against the rich guy, Green Lantern comes into the court and threatens him. Says, if you don't, because the Big Kahuna originally, was going to testify. Then he started lying, right, saying the rich guy had nothing to do with it. Then Green Lantern comes in and starts threatening him, saying, if you don't testify, I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm going to fucking kill you if you don't tell the truth. So then the Big Kahuna tells the truth. But if you go in court and threaten the witness, that doesn't count. That the case will get thrown out. The testimony will get thrown out. Because now it's not real evidence. It's not admissible anymore. So nobody cares though. Nobody cares in this story for some reason. Even though legally, in the real world, that wouldn't work out. I think that wouldn't work out. But you know what? Whatever. What do I know? What do I know? Maybe things were different in the 1940s. Moving on. Batman number 5. We got some Joker shenanigans. Joker does some shit. I don't care. First appearance of the true Batmobile, right? Previously, it was referred to as the Batmobile a couple times, but it was just a red car. Now it actually looks like the Batmobile we know and love. The second story, there's a lot of text in this issue, by the way. Like, in 1940s comics in general, there's usually a lot of text. In this issue of Batman specifically, Batman number 5, there's so much text in all the stories. All the stories, they all have it. They all have so much text. Especially this fairy tale one, though. Especially this fairy tale one. It's just an absurd amount of text. But Batman and Robin get sent into a fairy tale land by some scientist. Whatever. It's a pretty boring story. It feels like it should be interesting, but it's just not. It's not as fun as when they went to the Giant and Small Land, the fourth dimension, right? That one was really fun. That one was really good. This is like that, but worse in pretty much every conceivable way. The final story is my favorite of this issue. Batman basically, he meets a guy who's being framed for a crime, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you clear your name, and he does that. He helps the man clear his name. There's also a really good moment in here where Robin almost dies. Batman believes Robin's gonna die, gets really mad. It's cool, sort of a death in the family moment, but in the 1940s, and with Dick Grayson. And it's honestly really fun. I really enjoyed that. I really liked seeing that, how much he cares for Robin. It's not something we see often in these older issues, but it's nice to see. Captain Marvel Adventures number 1. The only important story in this book is Sivana creating Z, who is a robot, to combat Captain Marvel with equal strength to Captain Marvel. And Captain Marvel obviously defeats it. Crack Comics number 11, there's nothing I want to talk about there. Detective Comics 49, Bruce and Portia almost break up. Portia is almost break up. They do break up. Portia is Julie Madison, Bruce's fiance from the 1940s. She, after Clayface's first appearance, right, she got signed a movie deal, and now she's becoming famous. So her agent for some reason decided, okay, your name isn't good enough, so we're gonna call you Portia Storm or something like that. Portia Storm. I think that's the name. I'm not sure. I know her first name is Portia. I'm not sure about the last name. I think it's Storm. Basically, Portia's like, hey, Bruce, you should get a job or something, and you should be more mature. Bruce is like, nah, I don't want to do that because I'm Batman, but she doesn't know I'm Batman. But I gotta do the rich idiot act. So Portia is like, okay, well, we're not gonna get married there. I'm calling off the engagement until you do better and stop being such a bum. So Bruce is like, okay, whatever. And, this is the return of Clayface. Clayface plans to kill Portia, a.k.a. Julie Madison, because she was the one that got away from his last appearance, right? He's escaped prison. Or no, he was being transported to his prison, and he escaped. He does not manage to kill anyone. Batman and Robin do a pretty cool, trick to, to stop him from killing Julie. Julie and Robin switch costumes, kind of. It's cool. It's pretty cool. Fun issue. Moving on, Future Comics 42. Never going to talk about a Future Comics issue because they're the worst part of my day and they make me want to put a bullet in my mouth. Flash Comics 15. Flash Comics 15, we have some fun circus shenanigans. Not much going on, but, it's a fun issue. First, we start off with Hit Comics number 9. In Hercules, the Hercules story of this issue, we see Hercules is tired. He's sleeping. He's sleeping all the time. He just wants a nap. He just wants a break from all this crime fighting junk. But then a group of criminals continually tries to get rid of him, to kill him so they can get rid of a scheme. At first, Hercules doesn't care, right? They throw a rock on him while he's climbing a mountain. They shoot him. They hit him with a car. Whatever. He doesn't care until they interrupt his sleep. Now he's mad. By the way, this isn't the real Hercules. This is just a guy named Hercules who's really strong and is also a vigilante. So he gets really mad now they're interrupting his sleep. So he goes to the courts and he finds the judge and he's like, "Hey, I don't want this to happen anymore. How about I catch these guys?" And the judge's like, "Okay, if you can prove they're doing it, you can catch them." But the criminals like pull some shit and he ends up in an insane asylum. Cause like they threw him off a building while he was sleeping. Then when he wakes up, there's a big traffic jam because of him. He gets in trouble. He starts talking about the people trying to kill him, so the cops take him to an insane asylum. He's he's happy to be there because he finally gets a good, rested sleep. But during the night, cops and robbers, right? Car chase going on. He breaks out of the asylum to stop the car chase. He stops the very criminals who knocked him out, and he saves the day. That's Hercules for you. That's classic Hercules for you. Moving on to Master Comics number 12. We have Bullet Man. The villain of this Bullet Man issue, of this Bullet Man story, of this Master Comics issue, is Triple Threat. He is just a guy. I don't remember why he's evil. I think people just don't like him. I think he's just evil because people don't like him. And he makes a car that can do like a bunch of stuff. And he calls himself Triple Threat. And, Bullet Man goes up against him. And Triple Threat outsmarts the cops. He outsmarts Bullet Man. He outsmarts everybody. Bullet Man eventually manages to defeat him by just like flying through the helicopter, whatever car thing. And crashing it. But the crash does knock him out. Throws him into the sand. Knocks off his helmet. His little, flirtatious girlfriend individual, love interest, finds him with his mask off, cliffhanger. Sorry, I keep clearing my throat. It's really, that was a real cough. It's a thing I have to do right now. Master Comics number 65. In the Spectre, there's this guy called Dr. Mephisto. He's secretly the Blue Flame, and he's stealing money from people by, using magic tricks or whatever. Also, we see the Spectre get called the Dark Knight before Batman has ever been called that, so the Spectre is really the original Dark Knight, which is pretty cool. Dr. Fate, he destroys a kingdom of evil fish. There's a kingdom of evil fish that try to take over the planet. Dr. Fate destroys them all. Moving on, Mystery Comics number 20. Blue Beetle stops some apes who are trying to steal criminal confession technology. National Comics number 9, we get a panel of Hitler. Smash Comics number 20, The Ray. There's an evil uncle who tries to trick his nephew into suicide so he can inherit a gold mine. So, there's this gold mine, right? It's owned by the father. Father dies of suicide. Gets passed down to the son. Son is about to commit suicide. Son is convinced by uncle and a butler that, I should kill myself because there's a curse that everyone who owns this mine kills themselves. And then he's driven to suicide by whatever. The Ray saves him, and figures out that the curse is bullshit. It's made up by the uncle and the butler, who just wanted to inherit the mine for themselves. The uncle dies fighting the Ray. He gets into a fight with the Ray. The Ray accidentally kills him. The butler confesses everything, and the kid gets the mine. Wiz Comics 14. Right, this is a good one. This is actually a really good one. Savannah, okay, he discovers how he's in jail, right? Savannah is in jail now from the last time he dealt with Captain Marvel. But Savannah figures out a way to calculate atoms and where they are. So he figures out a way to walk through walls by figuring out where all the atoms are and where the atoms are in his body, and just sort of making it so that they pass beside each other. But every time he does this, a little bit of his atoms get left behind. So eventually, he vaporizes. And Shazam also figures out how to do this because he has the wisdom of Solomon. And yeah, so Beauty is also there, but she doesn't do much. She's really sad that Sivana died, and that's not explained until the next issue, Wiz Comics number 15, which is also a really good one. Sivana returns. We don't know how he returns or why he's still alive, but he is. He's back, and he's pretending to be Chinese, and he puts a thing on Billy's neck that stops him from saying Shazam. Like when he says Shazam, there's a loud shrieking sound that cuts it off or something. It's a little confusing, because I don't know why. Do the gods need to hear it for it to work? I guess that's what this is implying. The loud shrieking sound is stopping the gods from hearing him. I guess. That's my understanding of it. But Sivana plans to use a bunch of frogs from Venus to invade Earth. Shazam manages to break the device around his neck and escape and become Captain Marvel. Then he fights this weird strong guy who's just as strong as him, and he's so confused as how he's just as strong as him. He knocks out the big guy. Sivana is in a wreck, there's an avalanche. Sivana dies, or at least he's on his deathbed now. He's in the hospital. So Captain Marvel's there with the guy he just fought, and Butia, and Sivana in the bed. And Butia explains that Sivana was shunned on Earth for his genius years ago. He had 2 kids, Butia and the big strong guy, and he took them to Venus, and that's why Butia is always on his side, because they're father and daughter. And I think that's pretty cool. I'm interested to see where Sivana's son goes from here, if he keeps appearing. I'm interested to see if Sivana survives. He probably will. And I'm interested in Beauty a lot. Beauty is probably one of my favorite characters in Shazam right now. In Captain Marvel. She's probably my favorite character. Even over Billy himself. I love Beauty. So it's cool to see this little, relationship building between her and Sivana. And understanding where she's coming from and why she cares about him so much. Moving on, World's Best Comics number 1. This is just a bunch of stories from some of DC's most popular characters at the time. So you have Superman, you have Zatara, you have Batman, etc., etc., etc. Moving on, we have Action Comics 35. Superman, there's a gold mine. Some guys, a husband and wife, buy stock in this gold mine. And, Superman does some investigations. Turns out, for some reason, they're not making any money on the stock. The stock isn't worth anything. So Superman does some stuff, whatever. He fixes it all, and he gets them their money. Starting with Adventure Comics number 61, we get introduced to Starman. Starman is a guy named Ted Knight. All right, basically what happens in the story, right? What happens in the story is there's a guy. There's a bunch of bad guys. Okay, well, let's ignore the bad guys for now. There's a blackout. There's a complete blackout. Communications go out, lights go out, power goes out, everything goes out. So the president, noticing this, goes, I need to summon Starman. So he activates his little thing, his little beeper, which can call Starman for some reason. At a party, there's a party, okay? Ted Knight is at this party with his friend, who is a woman. And they're talking, and his friend, is a woman, is like, you're a coward. And then the lights go out, and everybody's panicking, and, Ted obviously disappears because he gets the call. And she's like, wow, he's a coward. He ran away from here. But secretly, Ted is Starman, who uses a little magical wand to get his little magical powers, and he does his little magical things. So, Starman uses his wand to fly over the president. President explains the situation. Hey, there's a blackout going on. It's clearly nefarious. Figure it out. Get rid of this guy. So Starman starts investigating, okay? He finds, a thug who's like, don't hurt me with that magic wand thing, and I'll lead you to the leader. So he leads him to the leader, who is Dr. Oog, an evil old bald scientist, which is kind of a trope back then, and also today. So he finds Dr. Oog. Dr. Oog, traps him a couple times. There's, a little trapdoor gimmick where Dr. Oog tries to drop Starman into the trapdoor, because Starman, he just hovers over it. Anyways, at the end of the day, Starman saves the day with his little magic wand thing. And it's a freaking cool-ass magic wand thing. Don't call it little again, punk. Fuck you calling it little for? Moving on to All American Comics number 25. We have a nice Green Lantern feature. This one was pretty boring. It's pretty, not boring, but standard. Pretty standard. It's just like racketeering shit. It's not racketeering technically, but it's racketeering shit. There's a group who tries to sabotage the steel mill, and Green Lantern stops them from sabotaging the steel mill. That's all you need to do. No. Moving on to All-Star Comics number 4. This is the big one, folks. This is the big one of the day. This is the banger. This is the big important one that I'm gonna put in the title and thumbnail. The JSA. Technically, the last time I talked about the JSA was their first appearance. Right? But that wasn't their first outing as a team, because they weren't it was just their first meeting where they just talked about their best individual adventures. This one, though, is their first outing as a team, which is kind of as a team, but not really. They're ordered by the president to battle spies and saboteurs in America. And that's their job. And they do that. And there's, like, individual stories following each one of them. And it's like Nazis. They're, like, all fighting Nazis. And they're like separate, right? They don't do it as a team. They do it separately, and then, like, come together as a team at the end. And they, like, say, you go there, you go there, you go there, you go to this state, you go to this state, and that's, the individual stories for each one of them. Dr. Fate, Flash, Spectre, etc., etc. They do this shit, they come back together at the end, and you woohoo. The only times they're together the only times they are together are at the beginning and the end. But, nevertheless, it's pretty fun comic. I didn't mind it. Also, I think, from what I remember, it's a single story. It's just this story. And it's like 60 pages, which I think is the first time that's happened. And at least on my journey, it's the first time this has happened in DC Comics. Maybe it's happened in Marvel or some other company before, but this is the first time it's happened in DC Comics. It's just one continuous story for, 60 pages in a comic book. Blue Beetle number 6. That's what we're moving on to. Blue Beetle number 6. I don't have anything interesting to say about this. Blue Beetle is, like, okay in Mystery Men, but then in, like, the Blue Beetle comics, it's just, like, it's still okay, right? I just don't have much to say about it. Crack Comics number 12. Not much to say about that one either. Neon the Unknown was there. Or was that Hit Comics? No, that's Crack Comics. No, that was Hit Comics. Sorry, I get the two mixed up sometimes for some reason. Anyways, moving on to Detective Comics number 50, the big 5-0. This is a big number. It's an important number. And of course, for such an important number, they have an important story. I'm just realizing one of my eyebrows is, like, curved and the other isn't. It's like weird. That's not important. Okay, this is a good one. I was about to shit on it. This is a really good one. Batman and Robin are patrolling when they see 3 guys on the roofs dressed in devil costumes. Batman's like, what the hell is that? Let's go over and confront them. They get attacked by the devils. They gotta fight the devils. Turns out the devils are a group of acrobat thieves. They're really good acrobats too. They're like jumping and flipping and swinging on stuff, and they're like really good acrobats. So Batman and Robin have to consider how to deal with these guys after they escape. And Robin is also an acrobat also, but just not as good as the 3 devils. All right, he's not as good. The devils are better at acrobatography than Robin is. So, they track the devils across the nation. They're trying across Gotham, right? They track them throughout, and they do their duty. They eventually find the acrobats at like a jeweler. The acrobats are selling their shit. They're selling their shit. So they jump in and they stop them and they start fighting them. There's 3 thieves that come in that were working with the acrobats. So now they're fighting the 3 acrobats, the jewel dealer, and the thieves. And eventually, they win. They beat the acrobats. The best part of this comic is fucking Robin, dude. Robin gets screwed over so many times. At the beginning of the comic, he gets jumped on while he's swinging across rooftops, okay? Like a few panels later, he gets elbowed in the stomach and knocked unconscious. That's like there's 3 times he gets like knocked unconscious here. And then like 2 of those times he gets socked in the stomach. There's also a point where he's knocked unconscious and thrown onto a train track and the train almost runs over him, but he just barely gets under it. He's under the train. And, he really was not having a good time in this comic. Whoever wrote this, they fucked him, dude. They fucked him. They did not like him. I don't know why Bill Finger was so mad at Robin, but he was. Moving on, Feature Comics 43. Fuck Feature Comics, man. I'm not talking about that shit. Worst part of my day, still the worst part of my day. And I Nothing bad happened today, so I don't know. Flash Comics 16. This one was pretty fun. There's a silver mine that Flash's friend owns. Some guys kidnap Joan Carter because they want to know where the silver mine is. Oh, no, because they know she's connected to the Flash. So they're like, okay, we'll kidnap her to get to the Flash. Flash comes and saves her, turns invisible, pretends, like, makes them think they killed him, follows them to the silver mine where they want to go and steal from. And, Flash stops them, and then the leader of the group eventually gets out of prison and becomes the sheriff himself, which is pretty big. So it's a little confusing how far down the line he becomes the sheriff, but I guess it happens. I'd assume within months, but it would probably be within years. So I don't really know how that happened. Anyways, moving on to hit comics number 10. Neon the Unknown does some stuff. I don't really want to talk about it. It was not as good as his first comic. It's just nothing will hold a special place in my heart like Neon the Unknown versus the Tibetan monks does. Moving on to Master Comics number 13, we have the origin of Bullet Girl. As I talked about last episode, Bullet Man, unconscious, mask off, his girl finds him, and she's like, whoa, you're Bullet Man. He's like, yep, you are going to my house, and you're going to stay there until I get back from dealing with this crime thing. Then he goes off and deals with some crime things that have absolutely nothing to do with the stuff from last issue. It's not Triple That. It's just a different guy. It's just a different guy now. And this guy's boring. He's just like a racketeer, I think, from what I remember. My memory's a little bit foggy on this. But basically, Bullet Man does his shit. He actually fails and gets captured, but his girl, now Bullet Girl, because she stole the helmet and the serum, comes in and saves him. And he's like, you're never doing that again. But, we'll find out if she's a permanent sidekick or if he's serious about this and you're never doing that again stuff. First, of course, with More Fun Comics number 66. In the Spectre, we have an interesting story. Okay, I did really like this story. Basically, there's a bunch of monsters in it. There's a painting world, and there's a bunch of monsters that live in it, and they, escape out of the painting into the human world, and Jim's gotta stop them and deal with them. And so that's what's going on here. He beats them, right? He beats the werewolf-looking monsters. They look like werewolves, but they're not. They're just... Also, one of them can turn into a human, but it's a really weird-looking human, and that's confusing. There's a lot of confusing stuff in here. This also raises some questions about Jim versus the Spectre, like who is... For most of this, ever since he's been introduced, I've thought Jim and the Spectre are the same person. They're the same person. But now, there's a point here where Jim, tells the Spectre to take over, which makes me think the Spectre is an entirely different person that just kind of uses Jim as a host. And I know that's how it worked with Hal Jordan in the future, but I didn't know that's how it worked here. And I guess, I just always thought Jim and the Spectre were one and the same, with the same person. He just, as the Spectre, got his powers. Also, we do get some new Spectre powers here, I think. I can't remember exactly what they were, but they must have been pretty important for me to mention them. What did he do? What did he do that was special that he doesn't normally do? He must have done something. I know he went in the painting, but that's not, a special thing. Oh, yeah! He stopped time. He, put a bubble over a certain area and stopped time within that area. Everyone out of that area was still going on as usual, but everything in that bubble was paused. And that's a thing he can do now, which is cool. It's cool power. He's never done it before. It's not introduced in a special way. It's just he just kind of does it, right? It's not necessarily a new power. A lot of characters' powers at this stage in comics were just bullshit, which is whatever works, and that applies to the Spectre too. But it is sort of a new power. Moving on to the second thing I want to talk about in More Fun Comics, we have Dr. Fate. Okay. There is a woman discovered by Inza. Dr. Fate's sidekick kind of, Inza. Not really a sidekick, but partner in crime. Not in crime, because they're not, you know what I mean. The saying, partners in crime? Okay, anyways, Inza discovers a woman who's a leopard girl, alright? She's turning spotted. She's slowly gaining spots. Dr. Fate helps this woman, and, he investigates her, he investigates the husband, he investigates the house. He figures out that the husband is drugging this woman and putting the spots on her manually to make her think she's a leopard so that she'll kill herself and he will get her money. Not a great husband. Other big things here is that Dr. Fate mentions that he doesn't believe in leopard people, vampires, or ghouls. Dr. Fate does not believe in vampires or ghosts or werewolves or you. This is the same guy that's fought aliens. He's fought the 3 fates. He's fought so many things that are weird and mystical and crazy, but he doesn't believe in vampires, though. Vampires aren't real. Aliens, yeah. The 3 fates. Giant guys who send 3 little guys in a spaceship to blow up the world. Those are real. Vampires? Ghosts? No. I don't believe in vampires and ghosts, to be clear. But I'm not Dr. Fate, right? I'm not Dr. Fate. I think, you know, it's it's Dr. Fate. Also, big thing happens this issue. Dr. Fate takes off his mask for the first time ever. This is the first time he's ever been unmasked in a comic book. He does not have a secret identity yet. He has not said his name at all in this book, but he does take off his mask, and he's just an old guy. He's just an old white guy, which, you know, not surprising. Moving on, Mystery Men Comics number 21. Blue Beetle takes down like a criminal who's like doing a bunch of shit. He's like throwing grenades. He's like getting people to throw grenades or whatever. No, he's not getting. He's getting people to throw grenades and then fall off buildings. It's whatever. It's fine. It was boring. National Comics number 10. I don't have much to say about this, but I do think it's interesting that it claims that Uncle Sam is America's greatest character. I don't think that's true. I think America's greatest character is actually Slam Bradley. That's my goat. That's my goat. That's my goat of America, is Slam Bradley. Moving on to Smash Comics 21. The Ray fights a bunch of pirates, a bunch of secret underground pirates. Superman number 9, pretty boring issue, honestly. The first Superman issue I was really like, on, you know. Like the others have been, you know, at least have one saving grace. This one didn't, you know, they were all pretty mediocre. There's some war stuff. Superman saves the judge's daughter, who's like the judge is being threatened with the daughter, whatever. He saves the daughter, and he does a bunch of stuff. Moving on, Wiz Comics 16. This is where things get fucking good. This is a good fucking issue. Might be one of my favorite issues I've read so far. Second only to Neon the Unknown, that one Neon the Unknown issue with the Tibetan monks. Wiz Comics number 16. Holy shit. Before we get to Captain Marvel, I gotta talk about Spy Smasher in Wiz Comics 15. Spy Smasher, in the previous issue of Wiz Comics, went up against a character named The Mask. This character, The Mask, hypnotized Spy Smasher to go crazy. The Mask did die, but now Spy Smasher's brain has been like reversed. Formerly, he was with the U.S. He was protecting the U.S. from spies and saboteurs. Now that his brain has been reversed, he is a spy against America. He's like a German spy or something, and he's sabotaging America. And that's what went on in Wiz Comics 15. So moving on to Wiz Comics 16, Captain Marvel, Billy Batson is given a task for his radio show to investigate the Spy Smasher. And know how he's going crazy. So Billy Batson starts doing that. He finds him. They you know, Shazam, whatever. They get in a couple fights. Yeah, there's a couple things that happen. But eventually, Spy Smasher does get away. Right, there's like a submarine. Captain Marvel chases the Spy Smasher onto a submarine and is like, he can't get away now. He can't get away from the submarine. But Spy Smasher manages to open the escape hatch while the submarine is underwater, flood it, so forcing Captain Marvel to, you know, save everyone while the Spy Smasher manages to get away. Moving on to the Spy Smasher part of this issue, and the war between them continues. This time we see it from the Spy Smasher POV, you know, with his side characters and what. He has a partner, a romantic interest, who starts investigating him on her own. She tries to convince him she's her friend. His friend. He's like, no, I don't believe you. Then she's like, no, I really am. I love you. He's like, oh, so you want to help me destroy America? She's like, I don't know about that. He gets really mad at her. He tries to kill her a couple times. Captain Marvel comes in, saves her. Oh, right. He tries to burn her alive. He puts her in the house and tries to burn her alive. Captain Marvel hears this, comes save her before the house can go down. He saves her. He and Spy Smash. Oh, then a fire engine is leaving the scene, the fire scene, and Billy Batson's like, "Oh my God, that's the Spy Smasher. I need to follow him." So Billy Batson does that. Turns out the driver is not the Spy Smasher; it's actually a decoy driver, some guy that the Spy Smasher gave the fire engine to drive. So Captain Marvel's like, "Oh, he fooled me." Turns out Spy Smasher is actually in the trunk of that fire truck. So he double doinked Captain Marvel. And that is where we leave off with Comic 16. From what I know, this is the first ever crossover between two superheroes. Spider-Man isn't really a superhero, but you know what I mean. It's really the first ever crossover, and that's big, that's huge, that's awesome, and it's a good one. It's a fun one, you know? It's the first sign of a connected universe, right? And I think it was really enjoyable. I'm excited to see where it goes, how it finishes, but that'll be like Saturday, I think. I think that Saturday we'll cover that. Moving on to Action Comics 36. Superman protects Metropolis from saboteurs. A lot of war stuff in these comics. I think that's gonna get more common as we go on, so you better get used to it. Sadly, but yeah, just planes, tanks, submarines. He protects America and Metropolis from saboteurs, and he gets rid of them. And the cover of this issue shows Superman fighting giant robots. Giant robots are absent from Superman, so I don't clickbait. So I don't know why they did that. Whatever though. Adventure Comics 62, Starman. There is an evil scientist who likes to shrink people. Starman stops him. That's all I have to say, really. Moving on to All American Comics 26, Green Lantern stops a loan shark. Also, the website I was reading this on, which, not exactly legal, but, we don't have to talk about that. Whoever scanned this had a signed copy of this issue, which is, kind of insane, right? Kind of insane. I guess it's not as big a deal as, a different, Action Comics signed would be insane. But, it's still a really old comic, and it's signed by the author, and I think that's pretty cool. Big 3, number 3. I'm not talking about this shit. Big 3 sucks. Big 3 is bad. It's Blue Beetle is the best part of Big 3. Blue Beetle, already not great. Best character in the Big 3, it's just not. Blue Beetle isn't great. And the other two characters are even worse. And when you put them all in that book, they're not even on a team. It's just stories from each one of them and some stories from some other characters. None of the stories are good. It's just not good. It's already not as good as a normal Blue Beetle issue. And a normal Blue Beetle issue is already not great. A normal Blue Beetle issue is already worse than a Mystery Men Comics issue. A Mystery Men Comics issue, already not that good. It's pretty okay, right? It's enjoyable. I enjoy the occasional Mystery Men Comics issue, but it's not great. I have 10 comics. Alright, let's get it right into them. Detective Comics 51 is our first comic today. In Batman, Batman and Robin investigate an amusement park that's been taken over by racketeers. So they go to the amusement park, right? Dick and Bruce Wayne go to the amusement park, and they're having a blast, they're having a fun time, and then they discover, by accident, that there's these racketeers at the park, right? And they're trying to take over the amusement park to, make their money. Actually, the park has been taken over by the racketeers already, I just remembered that. And they're extorting money from everyone. So Bruce and Dick become Batman and Robin, and they save the day. There's some wax figure goofiness. There's some stuff with the janitor. Batman has to save a guy who's really sick. There's some fun stuff. My favorite part of this issue is probably the first few pages that are just Bruce and Dick hanging out at the amusement park, and it really feels like they're father and son, and I really enjoyed that. Feature Comics 44, obviously not going to talk about that because I famously hate Feature Comics. Moving on to Flash Comics 17. The Flash, playing baseball by himself, finds out about a baseball gambling scheme and stops it. Hit Comics 11. The big Hercules, discovers some saboteurs. Okay, he's at a boat show. There's a boat show. They're christening the boats. They're saying this boat is now called this. And he goes to the boat show and he says, "Hi, I'm Hercules." And they say, "Okay, hi, Hercules." And there's these guys that are taking over the boats. And Hercules is like, "You can't take over the boats." So he stops them. And they're trying to sabotage the boats, and he stops them from sabotaging the boats. Moving on to Master Comics 14. Bullet Girl is here to stay. Bullet Girl is going to be a hopefully permanent part of Bullet Man going forth. And the duo, Bullet Man and Bullet Girl, stops just a little gang. More Fun Comics 67. Spectre fights a powerful evil spirit. There's not much else to say about it. The evil spirit is just committing crimes in general. He has mental powers that he's using to control people, and he wants golden riches for some reason. He is actually powerful enough to override the Spectre's brain and control him for a bit, but the Spectre does break free and defeats him and sends him into the stratosphere. Also in More Fun Comics 67, we have Dr. Fate here. Fate saves this guy from some evil spirit that are attacking him, but the really cool, interesting stuff that I want to talk about is the first half of the issue, where we learn Kent Nelson's origin story, and Kent Nelson is Dr. Fate, and this is the first time we hear his real name. Kent Nelson is with his father on an expedition to ancient Egypt. They're discovering stuff. They go into a pyramid. Okay, they're exploring the pyramid. Kent, little Kent boy, who's 10, discovers a box, a coffin, a mummy coffin that he opens, and out comes, I don't remember his name. It starts with an N. It starts with an N. Dr. Fate Nabu. He finds Nabu, right, who's like a god. And then Dr. Fate, Kent Nelson's father dies in the pyramid from a weird gas, something. And then Nabu is okay, I'm going to train you, Kent Nelson, to protect the world or something, and be a wizard. So Kent Nelson learns magic. Nabu gives him a helmet and the clothes and the Dr. Fate suit. And then that's Dr. Fate's origin story, pretty much. Kent becomes Dr. Fate in around 1920 in this story, despite earlier issues mentioning him having been around since the 1600s and the beginning of humanity. So I'm a little confused on the timeline here, because in this version of Dr. Fate, Nabu is not the helmet. In modern Dr. Fate, Kent Nelson puts on the helmet and then it gets taken over by Nabu, who is Dr. Fate. That's not what happens here. The helmet is just part of a costume in this version. It doesn't have any special stuff. Kent Nelson could use the magic in or out of the suit. He's the same guy. Nabu is just a guy who taught him magic in this version. So it's not a reincarnation thing with that. So I'm a little confused on how Dr. Fate has existed since the start of humanity, since the 1600s specifically, and before that obviously, but also the 1600s have been specifically mentioned. But also only became Dr. Fate in 1920 and was a 10-year-old. It's confusing to me. It doesn't make any sense. I think the author just forgot that Dr. Fate's been mentioned to have been around since the beginning of human history, but, it's a pretty big oversight. Moving on to Mystery Men Comics 22. Blue Beetle stops an evil gangster named Magog. Then we have National Comics 11 and Smash Comics 22. Nothing interesting there. And we finish off with Wiz Comics 17. This is our big one. Folks. This is a big one. We continue the Captain Marvel and Spy Smasher crossover, which does not end this issue. So that'll even continue more in the next video. Mr. Morris, who is Billy Batson's radio boss, is threatened by Spy Smasher on his way to Washington, so Billy hires him a bodyguard, a guy named Smith, who is secretly Captain Marvel, who is secretly Billy Batson. Spy Smasher steals a deadly gas, which is so strong that gas masks to keep it out have not been invented yet. And he starts, he releases the gas, and it starts spreading around, Captain Marvel's saving people, and yada yada yada. In the Spy Smasher part of the story, I'm not sure what happens with the gas. It just kind of disappears, I feel like. Because it's not resolved in the Captain Marvel issue, and I feel like it's not resolved in the Spy Smasher part. So that's confusing. I just realized that. But anyways, in the Spy Smasher section, Spy Smasher creates a giant lawnmower, which Captain Marvel destroys and stops, and he thinks he's killed Spy Smasher, but it turns out Spy Smasher has escaped once again. So I assume the crossover will continue in Wiz Comics number 18. Anyways, that is my 10 comics for today. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.